So, this is gonna be a silly stream. It's just something I feel like doing. I like to stream Final Fantasy XIV, but I don't like to stream it if I don't have anything in particular to talk about. Like, the streams that I've liked doing the most are when I went in with, like, a subject to want to discuss, right? I did, like, hey, I want to show people how to tank, it's really easy. Or I did, hey, Machinist is getting some crazy changes in the next expansion. I just want to, like, say goodbye to my favorite class. Or, like, hey, here's all the changes that happened in Shadowbringers, let's talk about it. There was one stream I tried to do, which was, at the time, last year, I was getting really into Savage raiding. And I wanted to try to go through, I wanted to do each of the fights and just try to, like, explain to the viewers, like, here's what Voidwalker is like. Let me explain the mechanics as they're happening. And that stream started okay, but it very quickly devolved into just trash, because, I mean, Party Finder is not reliable. I was doing it with a bunch of randoms. By the time we hit Leviathan, we wiped once. It got blamed on me when it was someone else's fault. And then the party disbanded. I tried to do Titan, and we got stuck on, like, phase 1 for an hour, and I just had to kind of end the stream. So it didn't work out that well. Which is unfortunate, because the thing I enjoy doing kind of the most in the game right now is, like, raiding, performing very well at a high level. And it's just not something that I can, like, really stream and engage with people over. But recently, as you may see from the cool weapon on my back and the cool title above my name, I have cleared the Epic of Alexander Ultimate. I was kind of streaming some prog, but it was more just to have a recording for. It's not the most exciting kind of stream series to watch. But I wanted to just, you know, take a moment, and I just think it would be fun for those of you out there who are interested in, like, high-level Final Fantasy, but, like, have never approached it. Like, what kind of effort and work goes into having to beat the fight? So I just figured I'm gonna, like, just play back my clear and just break down all the mechanics and just be like, here's what's happening here, to kind of give people who don't know the fight a greater appreciation for exactly what's happening. So let's just get into it. For starters, this is the first ultimate I've ever cleared, because I've just not had the time to do it beforehand. I'm just gonna go ahead and might as well just meet the whole game, because I'm not gonna be let me just also crank down the settings just to, like, really make this easy on the computer while I run something else in the background. This is the first ultimate I've ever cleared, and I did very well. I had a whole thought process of what I wanted to explain before I started, and I can't quite remember what it was. So let me just bring up the video in question.
Anyway,
you're supposed to be muted. Mute the video, but I am going to get the appropriate music playing in the background, because why wouldn't I? So this is the first ultimate I've ever cleared. By my numbers, my estimation, I want to say about like 20,000, 21,000 people have cleared this fight. If you compare me to just the people who did it on Gunbreaker, only about 700 people did it on this class. It's not a particularly popular class. Out of those 700, I ranked in the top 100 of those, if you just focus solely on the damage that I am contributing. But if you also expand it a little bit to my ability to play into raid buffs, I ranked in the top 50. So I like to think I did pretty fucking good on a very niche class, on a very niche fight. Gunbreaker is, like, just barely, like, Warrior is the most unpopular tank for this fight, which is sad because it's a good class. But only 700 people did it on Gunbreaker, compared to, like, I think like 2,000 did it on Dark Knight and Paladin, so it's not a very popular class. Ugh, excuse me. Why is Gunbreaker less popular? It's a lot harder. It's a lot more work for kind of equal results. people do meme about Gunbreakers being quote-unquote squishy. That's not entirely true. They have one more personal mitigation button that other tanks don't get. It's not a crazy good mitigation button, but it's there. But if you compare it to Dark Knight, which has just the single best defensive button in the entire game, it's busted good. If you compare it to Warrior, which is their ability to self-sustain themselves through crazy amounts of damage through their crazy healing, or you compare it to Paladin, which is they don't have great self-mitigation, but their party mitigation is entirely unmatched. Gunbreaker just doesn't bring anything like that to the table. The thing they bring to the table is they do more damage. And in T, it's pretty noticeable because they get more AoE hits, and there's a lot of instances in this fight where you can hit more than one target, so it does actually add up quite a bit. So what I brought to the table was doing more damage when most people who want to prog a fight go into it with a mindset of, I want to not fucking die so I can see more of the fight. So that's why Gunbreaker is not particularly popular. But, so, you bust into T. Here it is. Here's the starting boy. It's Living Liquid. You know him, you love him. It's kind of a meme because this is kind of like the raid fight from back in the day that everyone kind of said was maybe not mathematically impossible, but it wasn't a well-regarded fight. It was kind of, with server ticks and the way it handled registry back in the day, this fight was not looked on fondly. It was a huge, huge wall. So naturally, he's going to be a huge wall for this raid encounter. Living Liquid is actually kind of, if you break down each fight into a specific phase, so there's Living Liquid phase, there's Brute Justice Cruise Chaser phase, there's Alex Prime phase, and there's Perfect Alex phase. Living Liquid as an entire phase is the hardest phase of the entire fight. He is the wall of this fight, and we'll get into why. The fight starts, and it's not particularly complicated from the get-go. My co-tank, the Warrior, is going to be the main tank for the majority of this fight. We all just kind of do our normal shit. And then right here, he just does an untelegraphed tank buster. It's like a cone. You can kind of see the edges of it here. There's no cast bar for this tank buster. It does a fair amount of damage. Let's look at it. So, she was at close to full HP. She got hit by it. It did about like half of her health and damage through some mitigation, and it also applies that vulnerability on her, which doesn't really mean anything. It kind of just means you can't take two of these directly back to back, and don't get hit by any of the other water in the arena. What other water, do you ask? Well, shortly after this, he's going to cast Cascade, and you're going to see that his health bar dropped from like 70-something to 30-something. So let's bring that back again real quick. So he was at 80%, 79, 78, and then suddenly he just drops to 39. Well, why is that? It's because he split himself into two. There is now a hand, which I am going to be taking. So I instantly turn on Tank Stance, and I grab this hand. He's also going to be spawning these water tornadoes around the arena. These are huge. If you step in these, you get the Dropsy debuff, which deals a bunch of damage to you over time. It's pretty much death, so don't stand in these. If you stand in the tornado itself, I think you just straight up die. If you stand in the puddle, you get a heavy debuff that just is going to kill you. As soon as the hand spawns, I'm grabbing the hand. All of our players are preemptively splitting up around the entire arena. This is the part of the fight that the healers hate the most, because everyone is split up. It makes healing an entire team very, very complicated. I am grabbing the hand. My co-tank Naga, she's pulling Living Liquid to the corner of the arena. I am pulling hand towards the opposite corner. The reason for this is shortly after the hand spawns, it's going to shape itself into a certain form, and we want to bait certain forms, which you'll see in a sec. So I'm gap closing back because I've already baited him to where he needed to be, and then I'm bringing him right back to Living Liquid. So you see he's kind of like an open hand. We call this palm. The hand can be baited into two forms: the hand and the palm and the fist. So what happens is when the hand chooses a form, it's based off of how far away he is from Living Liquid. So if the two of them are very far apart, he's going to enter the palm form. And what that means is the next attack that he is about to do is called Hand of Parting, because they were apart. If they are still very far apart when this attack goes off, everyone dies. So I need to pull them apart to bait this one form and then instantly bring them back together. So when Hand of Parting goes off here in a second, you'll see there's the cast, Hand of Parting. It only does like 4,000 damage. It barely does anything. Meanwhile, kind of the worst part of this entire part has started. The Jag dolls. You can kind of see them spawn. My camera angle here is really bad, but you can kind of see them drop from the sky if you look over here. It just spawned. They instantly tether to whichever person damages them first. So the ninja that I'm next to is grabbing this one, our summoner is grabbing this one, and then there's 2 more. So there's 4 of them, and these are the worst part of the entire fight. What the dolls do is they tether to a person that hits them first. They are going to follow that person around the arena, but we want to keep them split up. Here are the rules to the dolls. If you kill it, everyone dies. Every now and then, the doll is going to set off an AoE around itself. When that AoE goes off, you can see it go off like right there. There's like an AoE that went off. It's about a little bit smaller than this kind of the tornado puddle. When that AoE hits you, you can see this person got hit by Luminous Aetheroplasm. It's a debuff that only lasts for like 5 seconds. You can get one, that's fine. If you ever get a second one, as in you accidentally get hit by 2 of these AoEs at the same time, it kills everybody. So, if you kill the doll, everyone dies. If you get hit by 2 of these AoEs at the same time, everyone dies. The end goal for these dolls is that you want to drag the doll into the boss, and the boss will eat the doll. When the boss eats the doll, it spits out damage across the entire raid party, and that amount of damage is based off of how much health the doll still has left. If the doll has 25 or more % health, everyone dies. So you can see there's a lot of rules to these dolls that just end in everybody dies. And it's like, it's really hard to control how much damage you're doing to the doll if you accidentally get some critical hits that you weren't planning on getting. So there's a lot of memes of just like, oh god, I need to feed my doll right now because I got a critical hit by accident, and then you and like 2 other people are feeding at the same time, and then even though like all of your doll's HP are low because so much raid-wide damage is going out at the same time, everyone just dies. So the DPS are dealing with that, which is complicated in its own right. What I am doing, after I have pulled the hand over towards Living Liquid again, I am getting out from that corner. The co-tank is provoking the hand, so now she's in control of both the hand and Living Liquid, because they are about to do another untelegraphed tank buster, both of them this time. If she was not using her home gang ability, her invulnerability, she would be dead. Because you cannot take both of these and survive otherwise. So she's taking both untelegraphed tank busters, and then I am immediately taking the hand back, and we're just hanging out in this corner for a little bit longer. After... oh god, okay, so Hand of Pain. I almost skipped over the most frustrating mechanic. You thought the dolls were bad? Here's the true, most annoying part of this fight. Every now and then, the hand is going to cast Hand of Pain, which is that slap on the ground. I'm trying to get it. Sorry, VLC. I need to learn how to like frame forward it back in front. There. The hand just slapped the ground. It did Hand of Pain. It did about 6,000-7,000 damage. That doesn't seem like a big deal. What this actually is a DPS check. If at any point in the fight, Liquid Hand does Hand of Pain, and both Living Liquid and the hand are more than 5% HP apart, everybody dies. So, the entire time you're fighting these two, they need to be pretty equal in HP. They can be a few percent apart, that's fine, but if they're ever 5 or more and this attack goes off, everybody dies. And it happens a few times throughout the entire fight. So, after that hand goes off, suddenly, these 2 orbs appear. They can appear in any 2 tornadoes, right? So it can be here and here, it could be here and here, it could be here and here, it doesn't matter. As soon as the 2 orbs appear, they have locked into a path towards the boss. So pretty soon they're going to start drifting towards this corner. So this one is going to drift through this section of the arena, which is something that we're going to need to be mindful of. This one is just going to be like, which is fine, we don't care. What these orbs do is if anyone touches it, everybody dies. Which is not at all annoying. So we're going to pull these 2 bosses back towards the middle of the arena to get out of the way of these orbs. We need to be careful though, because all of these dolls are about to do another AoE. And if we accidentally get hit by 2 of these are deceptively big. Like, I got hit by probably this one, even though I'm over here, right? So these are pretty big. And if I was like standing like right here, I'd probably get hit by 2 and kill the party. And it's pretty easy to be accidentally standing here because I'm trying to pull the boss towards the middle, and you want to like overshoot where you're going to keep the boss where you want to go. And I need to position over here. I need to position here because there's an orb going through the area that I need to go to, and if I touch it, everyone dies. But I need to be here soon, because very soon the Hand and Living Liquid are going to do another untelegraphed tank buster. So there it goes. Fluid swing. Fluid strike, sorry. And it hits both of us. This time we're not cheesing it. I'm taking one, she's taking the other. It is a very wide cone, so she needs to be standing here. I'm standing here. It's hitting basically this entire half of the arena. And everyone else is just like huddled back here going, oh, please don't hit me, Mr. Living Liquid. And then we squat here for an annoying mechanic, Protean. But real quick, there was a question in chat. How do you keep them that equal in HP? It is honestly just trigger control. It's being mindful. It's a little easier with our team comp. We went in with 3 ranged players and 1 melee. So a fair amount of our team has some flexibility in who they want to hit. So it's kind of on them to like be mindful of paying attention to which boss has more HP and trying to keep them in line. The benefit to, at the start of the fight, me and the tank pulled Living Liquid and Liquid Hand very far apart to bait Hand aparting, was that then it becomes we want to keep the bosses very close together immediately after that, and as long as both of them are together, I can use my AoE abilities. The warrior can do her AoE abilities. Several people can use AoE and hit both bosses at the same time for fairly equal damage. So it's a lot more consistent at keeping them kind of equal. The more people who can hit both bosses at the same time, and the more players you have that are free to change targets when they need to. So now that both bosses are back in the middle, we're about to enter Protean. So what this is all the DPS are going to stack up front, and DPS and healers stack up here. Both tanks stack down here. He is about to do Protean, which is he targets a certain amount of players to do an AoE towards. So I think in this case he's kind of targeting everybody. So here's the dirty secret, is that I never like fully memorized the thought process behind what's going on in this phase, because my job is the easiest. I need to move here on this specific spot right here, and then I just need to stand there, and my job is done. But a lot of this subsequent phase here is going to be him targeting specific players for puddles and these AoEs and trying to hit them. So I'm moving here, this spot. I am free to continue attacking Hand. Hand is again using Hand of Pain, so this is another instance where both of them would need to be equal in HP to not die. I need to stand here, just attack the bosses, and then ramp up my defenses. So you're going to see me hit Rampart, Camouflage, Heart of Light here in a minute. Meanwhile, He's targeting 1, 2, 3, the 4 furthest players with these puddles, because I am not the furthest. I am here at max melee range, which is just far enough away to not bait the next mechanic, because the next mechanic is going to target the 4 closest players, but also not too far to accidentally get these puddles. So these invisible cones for the closer ones go off. Everyone else closes in. He shoots off another 4. And it's a mess. Like I said, I never fully memorized what's going on in this fight, or this section of the fight, because I just stand there and look pretty. I'm good. I feel guilty that I don't know exactly what's happening here, but he's targeting specific players for specific baits on the cones and puddles based off of where they're standing. And I just stand there and we're good. So now he's entering splashes, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big hit. Not even that big. It's like 7,000, but it's only 7,000 for me because I'm threw on a lot of mitigation. So the other people are probably taking a lot more damage here. Let me look at their health real quick. Let's watch their HP through these splashes. Yeah, that's not the most comfy. That's like 10,000 plus a hit. Anyway, there was another Hand of Pain right there. Now he does Cascade again. This reshuffles where the tornadoes are in the room. The secret to these tornadoes and puddles is they can spawn in any, not even cardinal, I guess it can be like inner cardinal, because our true north is up here by the A marker. So they can spawn in any order of 3. It is always going to look like this, right? There's always going to be 3 tornadoes and 1 big open spot, but it can kind of be anywhere in the arena. And this is going to dictate where we stand for this next part. He's going to do the next set of Proteans. So again, depending on who is where, he's going to target specific people for puddles and cones. So I'm going to grab my hand. At this point, I'm calling out. You might see me flick between hand and liquid a couple times because we're about to enter our final Hand of Pain, which we had some inconsistencies with. So I just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page and say like, hey, they're 2% apart. Like, just be careful not to let them drift too much further. So I'm taking my hand and I'm moving far away because I'm going to bait one of these cones. We want to keep Living Liquid in the middle to make his cones easier to bait. So I'm standing next to this tornado. So after we bait these cones, I'm moving out of the way of that cone, and then I'm moving back in. There's the final Hand of Pain. So I'm not actually hit by this cone because I moved out of the AoE by the time it actually went off. But I'm moving close to this tornado again because now the tornadoes are going to be shooting cones. I kind of dodged out of that. Whew. Looking back, I got real greedy on that gap close. Oh my god. Look at this. It's not even there for like a nanosecond and I'm already gap closing out of it. You go through these phases enough times, you literally have these phases broken down to here are the exact GCDs I am pressing at specific times. There was an instance where I was doing this phase of the fight where none of my animations were working for any player or any boss. Just nothing was happening. But I still played through this phase perfectly because just by what buttons I knew I needed to press in what order, I knew exactly where I needed to stand. Like, it just works out. You do this so much, you know exactly how everything should fit. So I'm gap closing back in to dodge this puddle that I baited, to dodge this cone that I baited, and then instantly getting up beside him to bait this next cone. And then at this point, I'm actually attacking the hand, so I need to make sure that I have 2 cartridges going into the next phase. Let me see, so I gap close back to Living Liquid. I see Liquid is at 4% HP, and I'm like, oh god, he's about to die soon. I still want to pad my parse by getting off my full mashing before the next phase, but I don't want him to die before I can get my second cartridge. So I start attacking the hand instead because I'm very selfish. So I go back to Liquid, I get my final cart, and then I start pulling the hand and Liquid apart again. This is another instance where you bait either Hand of Prayer or Hand of Parting. We got in the habit of doing this just to be safe, because we have had a couple times where, like, Liquid was a few percent higher than he normally is, and we just want to make sure we don't die. So I do start pulling Hand to the side just to bait it if I need to. But in this case we didn't, and as long as you kill Living Liquid, that's the phase. The phase is done. Liquid is dead. And then everyone just kind of like hangs out and it's like, huh, Liquid's dead. That's it. Phase is done. What's next? Well, we're not in the next phase quite just yet. We don't get to start the next part of the phase right away, because we're going to see Cruise Chaser chime in like an asshole and say, hey, initiating extermination protocol. Well, what's that? You're going to notice that all 8 of us get a number above our heads, right? In this case, I got number 3. So what these numbers are for a mechanic called Limit Cut. You may, if you've done Shadowbringers, you may have seen this occur in Holminster's Switch. There's a boss where all 4 players get a number over their head, and this indicates what order everyone gets dashed at. So 1 is hit first, then he dashes to 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, so on and so forth. Limit Cut here is a little bit different than that mechanic in Holminster Switch. This is a little bit more involved, which I'll get into. Real quick, there's a question: how long did it take you to kill Living Liquid the first time? That's a complicated question to answer, because several of us in this party had prior experience with the fight. I personally was in a T static for 2 months before this. It was a bit of a disaster static. It was constant scheduling conflicts, constant roster changes. So I didn't get a ton of experience in the fight, but I did manage to get a kill on Living Liquid within that 2-month time frame. And then meanwhile, Naga, Ash, Sizzle, Mickey, and Hannah were previously in a static together, and they had all done this fight up to the 3rd phase, up to Alex Prime. But they hadn't done it in a while, so we were all still sort of like reprogging here a little bit, you know, feel out what each other was capable of, remembering what we need to do, maybe changing things based on old strategies. So we managed to get the Living Liquid kill as this team by like our 2nd day together, but that's not really indicative of how long it took all of us individually to do. But once you kill Living Liquid, we enter what is affectionately known as Limit Cut. So we're all going to group up in the middle, and this is not a good frame to pause on. What's going to happen is, you can kind of see here, there's going to be 2 explosions happening on the arena. These explosions are about to rotate around the arena. There's a couple ways you can handle the order for Limit Cut. The strategy that we decided on was Mario Kart, which is all 8 of us are going to move around the arena as a clump together, and then just kind of like break out as needed to bait the Limit Cut slashes. Some strategies put half of the party on one side, half of the party on the other side. We had some troubles with it. Once we did Mario Kart, it ended up being really quick, so we just stuck with it. One of the benefits to Mario Kart is it's easier to see what everyone is doing and help people correct mistakes. The downside to it is you just have less room to move as a team, but once you get used to it, it's not so bad. So we've designated the area between marker A and marker 4 as which area we're going to run to. So an explosion is going to happen somewhere in this area, and we're going to move to the left side of that explosion. So in this case, we're going to be going towards A, because these explosions always go clockwise. So we're going to go around this side and then just follow the explosions going this way. I'm number 3, so I'm not baiting the first one. So you can see one, it looks like he gets hit, but that's because he moved in after the game had already decided that's where the explosion is going to be. So he's going to move over here. He is going to look towards the wall, because what Cruise Chaser does is every odd number, he is going to appear behind that person and do a big cone slash. So we want to point that cone into the wall where it's not going to hit anybody else. And then he's going to dash at the next person, which is probably going to be easier to see on my end. So I'm number 3, so I'm the next slash. I point mine at the wall. I pop my knockback mitigation because this attack does knock you back. And if I didn't pop that, I would get kicked into the wall and die. So slash, I move, and then here was number 4. She stands behind where I was standing. He dashes at the next person. So it's a slash, then a dash. Cone slash, rectangle dash. Meanwhile, everyone else is moving around the people who are getting the slash and dash. Oh man, this is a perfect time for the song to finish. Give me one sec. Because we're about to get into the next phase. So once all 8 slashes and dashes are done, everyone groups back up the middle. We instantly throw out some healing and mitigation because, I mean, Cruise Chaser shows up. That's fine. Hey, what's this? Designation Brute Justice, Punishment, Eradication. What's going on? It's Brute Justice. He instantly lands on us with a big raid wide and does a crap load of damage. The horns kick in, and suddenly you realize you finally made it. It's phase 2. And it's the happiest moment of your life. Man, this song is really loud. I should turn it down just like a little bit. Alright, so now there's there's 2 bosses on the field, and the strategy that we're about to do is going to try to keep these bosses together as much as possible to do damage to both of them at the same time. So instantly I am grabbing Brute Justice. Naga is going to be taking Cruise Chaser because Cruise Chaser does... The music is still loud, I apologize. God damn. Look, Brute Justice is a loud boy. I apologize. That should probably be better. I could probably turn it down just like a little bit more. There we go. Brute Justice, he's a loud boy, but you know what? It's the best song in the entire phase. Alright. This should be better. I turned it down both in video form and then also in OBS form. So please let me know if this is still too loud. So, again, he lands on us with a heavy, heavy raid wide. We're going to try to keep these bosses together as much as possible. I'm grabbing Brute Justice. Naga is grabbing Cruise Chaser. We're scooting them closer into the middle. Cruise Chaser hurts harder than Brute Justice, so that's why Naga is taking Cruise Chaser, because Warrior is better at being a main tank than a Gunbreaker is. Yeah, so we're all bunching up into a circle around these two, because we want to be very close to the middle, but none of us can be overlapping with each other for a couple of reasons. So the first big reason is he's about to do Judgment Nisi. What this does is it targets either all DPS or all the tanks and healers, and it puts 4 different colors. You can sort of see them here. So there's a green debuff on our ninja, there's a blue debuff on our machinist, there's a purple debuff on our summoner, and you can't see it, but there's an orange one on our bard. So in this case, it targeted all the DPS. It puts this debuff on all of them. This is a debuff that lasts, I don't know, like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute. I forget exactly how long it lasts. Right now, it does nothing other than just deal damage to you over time. But we cannot lose this debuff. If we lose this debuff, we fail the phase, because we're going to need it for the very end. And you can keep it alive by touching another player. So if I moved over and I touched this machinist, I would also get this blue debuff. I don't want it, because we need to pass it off in very specific controlled points just to keep everything in order, but that's the rules for this mechanic. It does damage to you over time, and you can pass it to other players by walking into them. So, so this is why we're all kind of like spread out. We don't want to accidentally overlap with each other. We also want to stay close to the middle, because he's about to do Link Up, which, am I going to see it anywhere? Alright, so 2 chakrams just spawned on the outer arena. In this case, it was directly in front of my clock area. These chakrams, they spawn on opposite ends of the arena. They can spawn on any cardinal or intercardinal. They target a random player as they spawn, and they're going to travel in that direction. So it can either travel straight, or it can travel like at this angle to try to hit the person that was standing here or here. So once these have spawned, we all need to scoot out towards the edge. These chakrams have already decided their path. We need to move out to the edge to bait another attack. I need to give this thing a wide berth because, like I said, it could take a sharp angle if it decides to. So these people need to kind of like scoot over and make some room for me. So we dodge the chakrams, and then we got to move back to the middle because where we were all standing suddenly now also gets hit by these optical sights from the limit cut phase. It targets where we were standing, so we just need to get out of there as fast as possible. Me and the tank are going to swap spots just to drag these guys back to middle. This is where the first Nisi pass happens. So you can see that the ninja passes green Nisi to me. We have 2 blues now, we have 2 oranges. And now everyone's going to run off and deal with their mechanics. I don't have anything to do right now. As we were all running out for avoiding chakram and baiting the optical sight, you can see that 2 players got targeted for 2 mechanics. So Set, our ninja, has a lightning debuff, and Ash, our healer, has a water debuff. This lightning debuff needs to be shared with specifically one other person. When this goes off, it does an AoE blast around that player, and it needs to hit exactly one other person. If it hits more or none other, it can pretty much wipe the party. Water is kind of the opposite. The more people you have in the blast, the more the damage is spread out and shared. So you can stack like 4 people in this, and it's fine. So based off of who has what, everyone else is running around getting into position. So we have all the waters. You can't really see it. It's blocked by my health bar here, but all the waters are stacking over here on our A marker. Our lightning is like off here, sharing lightning with our co-tank. Cruise Chaser is doing a mechanic called Spin Crusher, which it does a big AoE blast directly in front of him, and if anyone's in front of him, they just die. So that's why sometimes you can see my co-tank scoot all the way over here to the side. There are sometimes I see Naga come like right here, and I'm like, you're getting awfully close. Because actually, one final mechanic about Nisi I forgot to say, if any colors touch each other, everyone dies. Well, not everyone. If a purple and green touch each other, both of those players die, for example. The only colors that can touch are the same colors. So if blue touches purple, green, or orange, those 2 players just die, and those Nisis are lost, and it's almost impossible to recover. So water is getting soaked over here. You can see water go off here in a second. So there was the lightning that went off right here. There was the water that went off right here. When the water goes off, it leaves a water tornado right here. You can kind of see it behind my health bars. Brute is very huge, and it's very hard to see around him. So I apologize if this is maybe not the best view, but that's just what you have to live with when you're playing a tank and you're tanking the biggest boy of the season. Anyway, so water tornado has been placed. Everyone needs to get away from this immediately, because if you stand too close to this, it does a move called drainage, and it just kills you for being too close. It just reaches out and blasts you, and you die. Yeah, you can stack pretty loose. So as long as anyone is standing within this circle, they share the damage. So you can see like one blue is standing here, our purple is standing here, our orange is standing here. So they just kind of like stand close to each other without actually standing on each other. But yeah, so everyone gets away from this tornado as fast as possible, because it will just reach out and kill you. Brute is now doing a move called Missile Command, which is going to target the 2 furthest players from him and do 2 different types of missiles on them. So our Summoner is all the way over here. You can't really see them from my point of view. My Summoner is all the way over here, Far east, our bard is all the way over here. Far west, as far away as possible. They're going to bait the 2 missiles. So there's the first missile. You can see the AoE. This first missile that hits them is going to leave like sludge on the ground. It leaves lava. You cannot continue to stand in it. The second thing it targets them for, they're going to scoot forward, and it's going to target this second AoE. This is placing a mine in the ground. This mine is going to detonate in a few seconds, and it needs to be eaten by someone, aka the tanks. So the tanks are going to go purposely run over them in a second. At the same time, I am getting targeted for ice. This ice can target either tank. In this case, I got targeted for it. This ice is going to be used to freeze this water. We need this water frozen for a later mechanic. So, both of the tanks stand pretty close to the tornado without actually standing too close to the tornado, without standing too close to each other. We get the ice. In this case, it was me, so I'm placing it right here. As soon as ice placed is itself, I sprint out, I go run into the mine that was right here, I eat the damage. It doesn't do that much, that's because I earlier popped a bunch of mitigation for it. I need to stay away from this ice because it's about to spread, it becomes even bigger. So you just need to be careful to not stand in it. Standing in it won't kill you, but it will do a bunch of damage over time, and you just don't want that. Meanwhile, as this is happening, you can see here in the background, it must have happened earlier. Hold on, let me run this back. Yeah, there it is. The healers and DPS are dealing with enumeration. There's this big yellow circle around one of our DPS. This is a circle that you need to have exactly 3 players inside of it. If you don't, you die. So, these people need to sort out who got targeted for enumeration, organize themselves who is going to go into what stack, all without touching each other because we don't want to accidentally pass these Nisis, we don't want to crash these Nisis, so that needs to just be organized. When that goes off, it does like no damage, so it's whatever. It's just as long as enough players are inside of it, it's fine. So, I've dodged the ice, I ate the mine, someone is coming over to me, and they're picking up my Nisi. So my Nisi is about to fall off in like 3 seconds. You can see that my Nisi is about to fall off in 3 seconds here, so someone needs to come over and pick it up from me before it goes away, because we need to keep these alive. So, mine falls off, green still exists on our ninja, and then once again, everyone is going to stack up for water, because water and lightning, when it goes off and hits other players, it passes to that other player randomly. Well, water passes randomly. Lightning also technically passes randomly, but there shouldn't be more than one other person in the stack anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem. It was a problem once when I accidentally got hit by it, but so all the water is stacking back here. The lightning is like being shared over here. Brute Justice is casting Verdict. Now, what this means is, finally, these Nisis that we've been keeping alive have a purpose. I get a debuff on me. For me, it is an orange debuff. So that means by the time Brute Justice casts Gavel, I need to have the orange Nisi or I die. So, all the other passes we've been doing before here were just for the sole purpose of keeping these Nisis alive. Now we need to target specific ones. But that's a problem for a little bit later. Right now we have a bigger problem. There's a water tornado behind me, and I'm not going to get targeted for ice again. If we let this water tornado stay alive and not get frozen, it will eventually detonate and kill everybody. So we need to get it destroyed. Brute Justice is about to cast Flare Thrower. So what this is going to do, it's going to target the player closest to him and do a big cone AoE. I need to point that at the water, and the water is now destroyed. While this is going off, I'm looking at my debuffs. Me and the co-tank are coordinating. Usually around this point, I'm saying like, hey, I need orange. I look over and I see Mickey has orange. I get to say, I need orange. I need Mickey. She's very close to me. Because there have been instances where it's like, this debuff that goes on you is completely random. So there are instances like, I need blue. I need to end up from here all the way over here and I need to not accidentally run into my co-tank, right? So we keep things controlled, we keep things coordinated, we communicate. I say, I need this, I'm going here. I make a clear point to say where I'm going. Then I go first, I stop, she goes, she leaves, and then I move back to where I need to be. Because I want to pick up this Nisi, but I don't want to accidentally stay on that player for too long, because I need to let their debuff fall off, so then they can go pick up the debuff that they need. So, I need orange, I'm going to Mickey, I grab it, I move out of the way, because in this case, Naga needed, I don't know, she needed one of these two players. We're not going to crash into each other, it's fine. So I just instantly move out of the way. At the same time, Cruise Chaser is using Plasma Shield. This is a move that puts a shield in front of him. This shield needs to be destroyed. You can only hit this shield if you are like directly in front of Cruise Chaser. If you don't destroy the shield, everybody dies. That is a very running theme with a lot of mechanics in this fight. Do this or everybody dies. Just straight up. Welcome to Ultimate. Everyone still needs to stay kind of loosely spread out to not accidentally crash into each other. This shield gets destroyed. He's now going to cast Whirlwind, which is a heavy AoE on the party. So, whoosh, that goes off, everybody gets hit. Everyone back here needs to stack up for fucking water again. Because of course we do. Lightning is being shared up north, I think. Lightning's not my problem. I don't know what happens to it at this point. I think it gets shared up north. I am dealing with water. So I need to stay close to this water stack to share the damage. This is the one instance where the water goes off. It is not being... Oh, it is still spread. Okay, so it is still spread to other players. And it still leaves a tower, but it is going to not be a problem for much longer. So, several of us have the Nisis that we need to have. This ice is frozen. Cruise Chaser is about to cast an AoE that will kill everybody unless there is a wall between us and him. So we need to all line up behind this ice and put Cruise on the other side. Brute is about to cast Gavel, which is, hey, have a specific color or you die. So, we have a specific lineup of where things need to be. We go by the system Poggers B, so purple, orange, green, blue. So, we know where we need to go. If there's no confusion about who needs to go where, it's, hey, I need orange, I'm going to this specific spot. Cruise is being placed over here. We're fighting. Cruise is now casting Propeller Wind, which is everyone needs to be behind this ice or we die. Brute is casting Gavel. Propeller Wind goes off. We take no damage because we're all hiding behind the ice. Gavel goes off. Boom. It resets all the debuffs. Water Tower is gone. All of our Nisis are gone. Because we had the correct Nisis, everybody survives. It is still not the end of this phase. It might as well be, though. Pretty soon, Cruz is about to cast Photon. This is actually an ability he cast really early in the fight, but I kind of glossed over it. At the start of the fights, this is 5:15. As we all group back in from Chakrams, Cruz casts Photon. And boom, everyone's HP is now set to 1. That's what Photon does. It just sets everyone's HP to 1, which is really fun when everyone still has Nisis on them, which again is a debuff that deals damage to you over time. In this case, this Photon only affects the tanks. So, Cruz is casting Photon. I am provoking Cruz. I'm going to take both bosses here, because what's really convenient is immediately after Cruz does the ability that sets both tanks HP to 1, Brute Justice is about to cast Double Rocket Punch, which is an ability that is a heavy tank buster that needs to be shared by both the tanks. That's really inconvenient. If only there is some way to take advantage of, let's say, one of the tanks already being at 1 HP, but not need to take any damage. Dun, 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 dun. Correct. I'm going to cast Super Bolide, and I'm just going to eat this solo. Boom. I take no damage. Healers don't need to worry about me because I'm invulnerable. Whatever. At this point, Brute Justice is casting Super Jump. What Super Jump is it targets the furthest player away, and he jumps to them. So, we don't get much more time to hit Brute. He is now on the opposite end of the arena. Because when he lands, he does a big AoE. We want to make sure that none of us are hit by it. And then also, immediately after he does Super Jump, he casts Apocalyptic Ray, which is this huge fuck-off cone that hits like half of the entire arena, and it will just pretty much kill you on sight. This targets the furthest player away, again. So, we have our Bard run all the way to the opposite end of the arena to bait the Super Jump. Because Brute is now super far away from the rest of us, he tries to target the rest of us. Apocalyptic Ray hits nobody. Awesome. So we just hit Cruz for a while. He's about to cast Whirlwind, which is, again, just an AoE. Brute Justice waddles his way back over here. And this is the part where they both die. I think there's a little bit more... There's not a lot left after that phase. I think it's mostly just kind of autos until Enrage. Hey, the auto attacks in this boss fight, an entire boss fight, by the way, are no joke. I just got auto attacked for like 28k through defensive. Like, I have Rampart up. I got hit by for 28,000 from a regular untelegraphed auto attack through mitigation. The auto attacks in this fight are no joke. So when one boss dies, both of the other one boss casts Enrage. We kill him too. Bing, bang, boom. So you do kind of want to try to keep both of them pretty equal in HP. Just so you don't have too much HP to work through trying to avoid someone's Enrage. Alright. Oh, wow. Both of them are back, and so is Alex. It's because we have a new fun mechanic to deal with. Everyone is going to pre-position for this mechanic that I will explain in just a little bit. I am just too in love with closing this and then opening this. The appropriate music for this phase. Where everyone gets frozen in time and these mechanics resolve. So, what is happening here between the transition of Brute Justice and Cruise Chaser to Alex Prime? So you beat both the bosses, right? We all stack kind of middle-ish. Each of us has a designated location that we're going to need to go. Let me just turn this down a little bit. Not too much. So 3 bosses spawn, and then instantly a bunch of us get a bunch of debuffs. So we have 2 different types of tethers. We have a debuff, and we have people that just have no debuffs. In my case, I have no debuffs. The way this is organized is the people with no debuffs stand on whichever bosses stand in front of and behind whichever boss is here on the left. Cruise Chaser and Brute Justice can spawn on either side. Whichever 2 people have the red and green tether, so you can see to my... I'm going to let this go off for a hot sec, and I'll turn the camera around. Naga and Mickey have the red and green tether here. What this tether means is both of these players have to be very close to each other when the debuff resolves, otherwise they die. If they're too far apart, they both just die. The blue tether is the opposite. They need to be very far apart or they die. Excuse me. The people with the lightning debuff, they're just about to take... When that debuff resolves, they just take a bunch of damage. That's really all it means. It's typically used in a place where you're about to take a bunch of damage. You are not allowed to take any more damage, or you will probably die. So we shove them to the side that has Brute on it. They do not want to be on the side that Cruise Chaser is on, because what's going to happen is Brute is going to target the 2 people closest to him and hit them with flamethrowers. So that's why we're standing really close to him. So he's going to attack Set with a flamethrower, and then he's going to attack me with a flamethrower. And just like last phase, it is a very wide cone, and we want to make sure that everyone over here is not getting hit by it. Cruz is going to target the 3 closest players. So he's going to target Mickey, he's going to target Naga, and he's going to target Sizzle over here. So, tethers go off, aggravated assault debuff goes off, cones go off, We've now done it in a controlled fashion. That's temporal stasis. That's literally all that phase is, and I can turn off this time loop music and get into everyone's favorite song, A to the L to the EX ander. So now we're into Alex Prime, baby! So, Alex Prime does not have a lot of HP, but we don't have a lot of time to work through it. Immediately, Naga is going to take control of Alex Prime. Because the end of the last phase, I spent a lot of my mitigation keeping control of both of the bosses at the same time. So Naga has more mitigation available than I do. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Naga has more mitigation available than I do. And what Alex Prime is about to do is he's going to cast Chastening Heat, which is a very heavy-hitting tank buster. So let's watch Naga's HP over here. Bwomp. That's 2/3 of her health through mitigation. It fucking hits. Naturally, what's supposed to happen after this is a tank swap. Because this... I think this also technically applies a... yeah, she has a magic vulnerability up now. But she has... Home Gang available again. Because Home Gang is on a very short cooldown. So, fuck it, let's abuse it. So while everyone else hangs out back here, she's just going to use Home Gang and just get hit by these 3 big... You can kind of see how wide... You'll see these cones in full later, but you can see that it's a pretty wide cone here. He does it 3 times, it hurts. And that's it. That's that. This is that part of Alex Prime, honestly. Now he does Inception Formation. He's about to leave. He's going to be on the field a few times, but then he just leaves shortly afterwards. It's really irritating. So you kind of have to, like, you have very short windows to plan how am I going to get the most out of my rotation in these short windows. So now we enter Inception Formation. Cruz always spawns on the east. Brute always spawns on the west. Alex can spawn either north or south. It is random. It is going to dictate whether you go north or south. 4 players are going to get targeted for these tethers. The other 4 players are going to get targeted for puddle AoEs. So I got targeted for a tether. I got targeted for, frankly, the worst possible tether that I could get. I hate this. This is the literal worst thing I could possibly get tied to. So I get tethered to this green orb. What this means is, once his tether disappears, this green orb that I am tethered to is going to start drifting towards me. And when it eventually hits me, it's going to explode. It's going to leave a huge puddle on the ground. The puddle doesn't do any damage, but if you step in it, it slows you down. But if this puddle overlaps another puddle, everybody dies. So these need to be soaked very far apart from each other. So ideally, because I am tethered to this one that's on the south, I want to take mine in front of Cruise Chaser, right? Because he's all the way, like I said, he is all the way over here to the east. So I want it to travel as far as possible, and I want to soak it here. But my required position for after I soak the puddle is I need to be in front of Brute. As the tank, I am the first person to get hit by Brute Justice. I need to be from Cruise to Brute in like 2 seconds. And when all these puddles leave heavy debuff on you, that becomes very, 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 very hard. So, while it's not ideal, at this point I do beg my summoner over voice, hey, could you go bait south instead of me, please? Because I need more time. I bribe her with a defensive that I normally use on myself. I'm going to give it to her just to make sure she doesn't die. So we stand in these positions. So there's one over here, there's one over here, there's one over here, there's one over here. Meanwhile, the other 4 players that don't have these orbs, they have these AoE puddles. They want to drop it in this box formation. It's going to be hard to see what the point of this is, just because I'm not looking at it very often. I'm very hard focused on where I need to go. So these 4 go off, mine goes off. When those 4 go off, it leaves these crystals on the ground. And you can't really see it here. There's a heart here. What this heart is, there's a cat back there. You'll see it in a better view when I get closer to Brute. But there's a cat that shoots a heart. And whenever that heart hits one of these crystals, that crystal is about to fucking explode and hit everybody, no matter where they are. So naturally you would think you want to make sure that the heart doesn't hit the crystals. Well, actually, we need it to. So, I got hit by this orb. I have given my summoner my defensive. The summoner, everyone else that is not me and the other tank wants to get as far north as possible. Because these crystal explosions right here that hits the entire party is proximity based. It does more damage to you the closer you are to it. So everyone else needs to get as far north as possible. I have tank privilege. I have so much HP that I can just kind of walk into it and it doesn't matter. Excuse me. Meanwhile, I'm just getting as close to Brute as possible because, again, Brute is going to target the 3 closest players for a flamethrower. So I get hit by a flamethrower, Naga gets hit by a flamethrower, and then the rest of the party gets hit by the flamethrower. This thing is fucking huge. This is the one that's hitting Naga. It's hitting basically the entire arena. Let me just zoom it back real quick. There's the cat right here. There's a kitty cat. It shot out the heart. Because the heart hit all 4 crystals, it has now become golden. We cannot do damage to this heart, but we are going to walk up to it and just attack it, just to build resources, so I can do my main combo on it. I get a second cart. The heart now flies off in a direction. Where the heart goes is going to dictate where Alex is about to spawn, because Alex can spawn in any random direction. Pretty much literally entirely random. Not just a cardinal, not just an inner cardinal, random. And as you can see, 2 people have been targeted with lightning, so they need to not take any damage. 2 people have been targeted with the long blue tether. They need to be very far apart. 1 person has been targeted with shared sentence, which is a debuff that hits them and everyone around them, so they need to share that damage with other people. So the way this is controlled is me, the other tank, and the person with the shared sentence debuff all go to our right side of Alex. Everyone else goes to the other side of Alex, because Alex is about to shoot Sacrament, a huge laser down the middle of the arena, so we want to make sure to not be there. Tether goes off, we're very far apart, all the debuffs go off. We all need to pile up around Cruz, because again, Cruz is about to damage the 3 people closest to him with cleaves. 1, 2, 3. Meanwhile, Brute Justice back here is doing super jump. He is about to jump to the furthest player away, so he's targeting Naga, my co-tank behind us. Boom, he lands behind us. I instantly need to burst on Alex Prime, so Naga, again, is going to take Chase Sending Heat. That crazy tank buster that hit for like 2/3 of her HP and left a debuff on her. She does not have Home Gang. She cannot do the same thing she did last time. I don't have Super Belied. I cannot do that. So she is taking the tank buster with the debuff applied to it. I am provoking during this tank buster, and I am going to take these giant fuck-off cones. So 1, 2, 3. Those hit for like 50k each. Those things hurt like a bitch. And I hit literally every defensive button I have. Rampart, Nebula, Camouflage, Heart of Stone, Reprisal. Like, I have lowered the damage on this as much as I could, and I'm still getting hit for a crazy amount of damage. So, again, there was the 3. Alex is about to leave again, because Alex is a coward. He is now casting the hardest mechanic the entire fight, Wormhole Formation. There have been many parts of this fight where several things are happening at once, right? It's about to happen in a major, major way now. So, Alex Prime leaves. Cruz spawns in one corner. So we all look north. Cruz is always going to spawn on either northwest or northeast. Brute will spawn on the opposite northwest or northeast. Alex will always spawn to the south. So what's going to happen is we're going to go where Brute is spawning. We all need to get in front of him. Because guess what? Here's Link Up. We all get targeted for numbers. Chakrams spawn. So
We all needed to stand in front of Brute to make sure that these chakrams are going to travel directly in front of Brute in a harmless way. We are now all targeted for numbers. Limit cut is about to happen. So again, he's going to do a cone on 1, dash to 2, cone on 3, dash to 4, cone on 5, so on and so forth. At the same time, Alex is south. He's preparing Sacrament, which is the huge fuck-off laser down the middle of the arena we were talking about. At the same time, Brute Justice is getting ready for Super Jump, right? And we know what happens after Super Jump. It's going to be Apocalyptic Ray. But at the same time, these giant puddles appear in the ground, and these need to be soaked. So, there's a very controlled method to this. 1 and 2 need to go north. In this case, I was number 6. It's not a particularly exciting number to get. I apologize. I'll try to do better next time. So, 2 needs to hang out back here to dodge these chakrams, but as soon as she dodges these chakrams, she wants to move as far into this corner as possible, because Brute Justice has now jumped to the opposite side. Brute Justice has jumped to 3. He super jumped there, and now he's going to target the furthest player away for Apoc Ray, right? So we need to make sure that she is definitely the furthest player away. As 6, I'm the first person to soak this giant puddle. Dash 1 and 2 just went off. There's Apoc Ray. Dashes 3 and 4 are probably going off right about now. As 6, I need to prepare. I need to go north. I'm popping my knockback mitigation because here comes Cleave 5, Dash 6. That was Sacrament, the giant fuck-off ray. Here's the final puddles. These need to be soaked by 1 and 2. There's the final dash for 7 and 8. So these... Okay, let's watch... So, again, the breakdown of roughly what happens, right, is chakrams, limit cut, puddles that need to be soaked 3 times, Sacrament, Super Jump, Apoc Ray. This is all happening at the same time. There's Dash 1, Dash 2, Cleave 3, Dash 4, Sacrament, Cleave 5, Dash 6, puddles, Cleave 7, Dash 8. And guess what? It's not over. That was the worst part of Wormhole, for sure. But hey, you might notice that, let's say our Astrologian over here has a little bit of a stack marker on top of him. Surely that's not going to hurt too much, is it? Well, let's give everyone some shields and full HP. Let's see how much damage it does. A lot. It's been mitigated, sure, but it is very... Everybody is spread out at the end of Wormhole, right? Like, Wormhole is finished. Everyone needs to collapse in the middle as fast as possible to get healed in time for this stack marker. Immediately after that is enumeration. Again, this doesn't do any damage, but it does need to be just soaked in a controlled fashion, so 3 people in each enumeration. Whew, thank God. Alright. It's cool. It's smooth sailing, surely, right? I mean, we just got hit by Incinerating Heat, which did 1 billion damage. Surely they're not going to hit us with more crazy damage. Hey, what's Mega Holy? Well, let's mitigate it with, like, Addle, I guess. Oh god, we all almost died. Whew. Don't worry, we took care of... Oh no, here comes Mega Holy again. Oh god, we all almost died again. Alex Prime does not give a fuck how much HP you have. He is going to try to obliterate you. Well, thank God all that heavy damage is out of the way. So, Alex leaves. Alex decides he's had enough. He's calling in his friends again. All 3 of them are now casting Enrage at the same time. Cruz's Enrage doesn't do anything. It's just an Enrage bar. If the Enrage goes off, we die. Alex's Enrage bar, again, doesn't do anything. If the Enrage goes off, we die. But we can't hit Alex until his friends are taken care of. That's why there's tethers on him. But the entire time that Cruz is going through his Enrage, Brute Justice is kind of going apeshit. He's a Fire Tornado now, and boom, he just did a big raid wide. This is a J-Wave. He's going to do this 14 times, and every time he does it, it does more damage. Every single time. We just got through Incinerating Heat, which did a crap load of damage. We just got through 2 Mega Holies, which did a crap load of damage. And with whatever mitigation we have left, we need to hit it at specific points to mitigate up to 14 J-Waves worth of increasing damage while trying to kill 2 bosses in a limited time frame. So, we gotta take care of Cruise Chaser. He needs to die first because his Enrage bar is the shortest. So, as we get close to the end of Cruise Chaser, that's probably around J-Wave 6. You'll see the bar on it, the buff on his bar. So, yeah, he's done 6 so far. So, we're on, like, J-Wave 7 now. There's 7. There's 8. So, it's just, if you watch our healers, they're just bottomed out on MP. They're spamming Sucker. They're giving it everything they have. They have no MP left. We're trying. J-Waves take no prisoners. But that's fine. It's Alex Prime. He just has a long Enrage bar, and that's it. That's the end of this phase. I'm going to take a sip of water. Oh my god. It's just so much damage to go through that entire last minute. And just like, it's tough to plan around it because, like I said, like, you still have to mitigate the things that come before it, right? And then you still need to mitigate over an extended period of time. Anyway, we've killed Alex, but he's doing one big attack that needs to be tank LB'd and shielded, otherwise everyone will die. So this has been tank LB3'd, and we had shields, and it still dropped us down to about like 20k HP each. But I can close this now, because we're in the final stretch. I'm going to leave this whole transition in full, because why wouldn't I? We're entering the final phase. Alex has decided that he's had enough. He's had enough of your shit. You're going down now. He calls in Brute Justice. They disassemble and become part of Alex. Alex now grows crazier arms and legs. That's right, he walks now, boys. Cruise Chaser comes in. He packs himself up and becomes a new head for Alex the Perfect. I am Alexander, the assembled look upon the perfection that will be destruction. This is the final phase. We are now 12 minutes into this fight. There's still 6 minutes left to go. We're in the final stretch, boys. Oh my god. So this final phase is actually a lot more, do you understand the gimmick? More than it is very precise, what's the word I'm looking for? Mechanics handling. But that doesn't mean he's a slouch. Because again, his autos still hit very hard, and if at any point anyone fucks up a mechanic, it's pretty much death for everybody. So, we get about 8 GCDs to start with, so we need to pot up immediately, we need to attack him. He's about to cast the Final Word. Now, it's really rude that he casts a mechanic called the Final Word, when this isn't actually the final mechanic of the phase, but, you know, whatever. That's just me being a pedant. So he casts the Final Word, which doesn't do anything on its own, but does place a debuff on everybody. So you see everybody right here has either a yellow debuff with an arrow, a dark debuff with an arrow, or just a yellow or dark debuff, right? What this means, if you have the debuff that has no arrow on it, you are essentially becoming a beacon to those who have an arrow. So, as this debuff resolves, I am going to be forced to run in the direction of the person that has the yellow debuff, because I have the yellow with the arrow. And then all the darks are going to be forced to run away from the people who have the dark beacon. So lights are towards, darks are away. So we're going to start, now that the debuff is out, we're all spreading out to where we need to go. Basically, everyone is going to stand over here while the one light beacon stands to the other side. At the same time, he's casting Ordained Motion or Ordained Stillness. Ordained Stillness is the hardest mechanic of the entire fight. It sounds like a joke because I just said Wormhole is the hardest mechanic of the entire fight, and you saw me try to break it down. That's a fucking lot to go through. Ordained Stillness, the mechanic is literally just stop moving, stop attacking, do nothing. That is the hardest mechanic of the entire fight, because that snapshots so early. It snapshots like halfway through the cast bar. If the cast bar gets like here and you attack the boss and then stop before the cast bar finishes, you'll just fucking die. It is crazy how hard you need to respect Ordained Stillness. But we got motion first, so we do the opposite. We just need to kind of like run around in circles and let it resolve. So there's the light swords. Because we were moving, we're all fine. As soon as this goes off, though, now the debuffs, the runner and beacon debuffs, they go off. So all the dark runners are forced to run away from the dark beacon. All the light runners are forced to run to the light beacon. At the same time, Ordained Stillness is finally being cast, so as soon as these debuffs resolve, we just stop. We just don't move. Alright, there's Ordained Stillness. Literally, my hands are off the keyboard at that point. I'm not even risking moving the camera. It's not worth it. Because no, it's very, 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 very hard to recover any death in this phase. But yeah, so that's Ordained Motion and Stillness. That's final word. He's about to now cast Fate Calibration. Oh, no, wait. Optical Sight. I'm getting ahead of myself. So now he's going to do 2 stack markers, or everyone needs to spread. We will do both, but it's random which comes first. These 2 stack markers can target anybody, so we kind of just need to like make up the stacks on the fly. So you can see like Hannah probably got used to going north, but we already have a stack marker up here, so she had to like adjust at the last second. You can do a stack of 5, a stack of 3, it's fine. It's not that demanding. We just need to make sure that it's soaked to the best of our ability. But then now everyone's going to get targeted for spread, so we need to spread out. And now we're going into Fate Calibration Alpha. So, what's really cool about this mechanic is earlier in the fight, when we were doing Inception formation, right? And we had the heart blow up the crystals and become the golden heart. When that heart became the golden heart, it put a debuff on us. This blue one right here, called the Enigma Codex. I am not super familiar with the lore implications of this fight. I don't know a whole lot about Heavensward. I'm still very, very slowly chipping through it. But if we didn't have this debuff, for this entire time Alex casts Fate Calibration, we see nothing. We just see him standing in the middle of the arena, casting a cast bar for like 30 seconds straight, and we see nothing else. But because we have the Enigma Codex debuff, we are going to see something. So Fate Projection means he enters Fate Calibration. So he has this giant Fate Calibration cast bar now, and suddenly we can see the future. We see future clones of ourselves running around the arena. That's what these arrows are pointing to. So my arrow is pointing to my clone. I need to follow my clone around and see what he does. Less what he does and more what effects are being applied to him. So, everyone got hit by more Ordained Stillness. So we know that first things first, we need to just stop moving once this entire mechanic finishes. Now that I know that, I need to keep watching my boy. So, we have one person explode, they have defamation. This person over here had shared sentence. Those people had aggravated assault. This dictates where we're going to, or the stacks that we're going to stand in to resolve this mechanic. Once we know that, there's Ordained Motion, so it can be, unlike the first time Stillness and Motion can come up, here it can be the same thing back to back. It can be Stillness, Stillness, it can be Stillness, Motion, it can be Motion, Motion, it can be Motion, Stillness. But here we know it's Stillness and then Motion. And we just watched our future selves die. So I just watched myself die. There's my dead clone. At the same time, Stillness and Motion are going off there for that second time. You can see there's a bunch of Alex clones around the arena. 3 of them are casting Sacrament. So there's this one shooting here, there's one shooting that way, and there's one shooting that way. One of those 4 around the arena, I wasn't looking during my point of view of this. This second one was not shooting. So that means he was not shooting a laser across the arena. So that means we're safe to stand down here. So everyone's going to stack in this one little safe area. So we're stacking in our associated spots. All the aggravated assault people who need to take their aggravated assault debuff and no further damage stand here. The people who need to share the shared sentence debuff stand over here. And then the person who exploded with defamation needs to stand as far away as possible to not hit anybody else. So we need to stand still. A couple of us instinctually jumped, thinking it was motion for a second. We need to stop moving. Stillness goes off. Boom. Now we start jumping for ordained motion, because we don't want to leave our safe area, but as long as we're jumping, we're considered moving. So there goes defamation. That goes off. Here go the lasers. Bang, bang, bang. We're in the safe area. We're fine. And that is Fate Calibration A. As Alex respawns, I need to pre-mitigate, because now we have a shared tank buster to handle. So he's going to cast Ordained Capital Punishment. This is a 3 times hitting tank buster that needs to be shared between both of the tanks. So bang, bang, bang. That hit for about 40 to 50,000. This one doesn't really count because I had a bunch of shields up, but you can see it hits for about 43,000 damage each time. 43,000 damage shared and mitigated. This thing does a crap load of damage. And on top of that, he's using Ordained Punishment, which is not a shared tank buster, but a tank buster that we want one tank to hit. It's going to leave a debuff on them, so it doesn't hit... Okay, it hits pretty fucking hard. It hit for 107,000 damage through mitigation. Plus, it put a vulnerability on her, so I need to immediately take the boss from her. So now I am in control of Alex. We're about to enter Fate Calibration Beta, so the second time we're doing Fate Calibration. Which, again, kind of the same thing. So if we didn't have the Enigma Codex, we would see nothing. So again, we're going to watch our future clones run around. So I'm watching my clone here. And I can see that my clone ran to an edge. It got one of these, light debuffs, but my character is not moving and everyone else is running to him. So that means I am the light beacon. I am dictating where the light runners are going to go. So that's what I know what I am doing. So in this case, we're looking for a few things. We're looking for who is a beacon, who is a runner, and what tethers you have. So 2 people are going to get the red and green tether, which, as we know from before, they need to be very close to each other or they die. 2 people are going to get the blue tether. They need to be very far apart or they'll die. And then 1 person is going to get, no tether, and they just need to go to a certain spot. The second thing we're looking for... sorry, excuse me, I need to drink water for a second. Oh, this is getting very dry. I'm not looking for super jump, but 3 of the 4 Alexes are going to super jump to east, west, and south. So they're jumping to what they consider the furthest players away from them. That ends up being east, west, and south. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the last Alex here at north, because this is the one that casts Optical Sight, which can either be a stack or a spread. So he's casting it right now. Because it's a bunch of small green balls, I know this is a spread mechanic. If it was 2 solid big green balls, this would be a stack mechanic. So, but it's going to be a spread. So we know that once we bait the super jumps, we all need to spread out around the arena to not hit each other with the explosions that are about to hit us. And then we need to look south, or we're supposed to, but I'm not here. Alright, so yeah, I need to whip my camera south. One of these 3 Alex clones casts Radiant Sacrament, which is an AoE that hits the entire arena except for directly below him. So after we have spread out, we all need to bunch up under this guy over here. So, that's Fate Cal B. So we all know where we need to go. I am the beacon for the light runners, so I need to be up here, far north. Everyone else is going to run towards me. They're forced to. We're all locked in place. Everyone else is forced to run. The blue tether wants to go all the way south. The person with no tether wants to be all the way east. The dark beacon needs to remain all the way here at west. They're going to bait the super jumps. We share this shared sentence here at A. There goes the super jumps. Now we're spreading out. That was the spread. Now we all need to group up onto this guy here. Bam, that's Radiant Sacrament. I am now hitting all of my mitigation again, because now I'm doing another Tank Buster, except this time I'm soloing the whole thing. You saw how much damage it did when we shared it. I'm doing it alone now. I pop Rampart and Camouflage, but then I'm going to delete all of my HP anyway, because I kind of just... Ideally, what's supposed to happen is I'm supposed to take the first hit of this 3-parter naturally and then use my immunity button. I kind of just stumbled on the appropriate timing to just immunity the whole thing. So I just delete all my HP. Bang, bang, bang. No damage, no damage, no damage. And then I just get punched again for no damage. So I just happened to stumble on the right timing for that. And I kind of stuck to it, but then still use my mitigation just in case. Naga takes the boss from me, because I have a physical vulnerability, and if I get punched again, I will die. We're all stacking south for Almighty Judgment. So what's going to happen here is we're going to see telegraphs of 3 different ways that the ground is going to explode. So first the ground is going to explode here, then the ground is going to explode here, then the ground is going to explode here. So the way we resolve this is there's really only certain set ways that this can possibly resolve. We have markers here at 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when this first one goes off, there's only certain set patterns that this can appear in. And where the first one appears really reduces the movements that we need to do. We never need to move diagonally between these 4 squares, so immediately we know that we want to end the mechanic here at 1, because, or we need to end the mechanic here at 3. This is the first one that's going to go off, and then we want to finish here. So the safe spot is either going to be at 1 or 4. So the second one goes off. Okay, so we need to start at 1 or 4, but 1 is also exploding really early, so we're going to start at 4. We're going to go 4, wait for that first explosion to go off, and then while the second one is going off, we're going to move from 4 to 1. So you go to 4. We mitigate like crazy, because while we're not taking any damage here, as we all stack up here for 3, he's casting Irresistible Grace, which, watch our health bars, hit us. It looks like it only did half damage, but we had crazy amounts of shields and mitigation. So it hurts like a bitch. Immediately he's going to do another set of Tank Busters, which Naga is going to solo this time. So she's mitigating. She's going to eat the first hit of this naturally. I am provoking during the final hit just to make sure that I have control of the boss after she gets the physical vulnerability on her. So now I am taking control of the boss. We're launching right into another Almighty Judgment, which is, again, the same thing. So, again, so 1 and 2, we want to either start on 3 or 4, because we need to move into either 1 or 2. Well, it can't be 3, right? Because this is the second one to explode, so we're going to go 4 to 2. So we go 4. First one goes off. We're mitigating like crazy. We're moving into 2. We're staying stacked up to share this Irresistible Grace. It hurt. And now we enter Enrage, the coolest Enrage of the entire game. Alexander is a robot that controls time. And for the 15th time, he has decided that he's had enough of your bullshit. He's going to freeze you in time forever. These 8 towers appear around the entire stage. So there's the first one over here behind him. This tower needs to be soaked. If this tower is not soaked, everybody dies. But when this tower is soaked, the person who takes it, they're frozen in time. They can't act anymore. They're done. They're stuck here. Their job in this fight is over. The second person, their job in this fight is they're stuck. Third, slowly, one by one, you watch your friends get locked and frozen in time. And if you don't finish the boss by the end of the fight, you're all just frozen in time forever. The screen goes black, chains appear everywhere, and Alex just sits there and watches you for like a good 10 seconds before the fight restarts. But shortly before we had our final person about to be locked up, we got the clear. And that was our clear of the Epic of Alexander. hopefully that gave people a greater appreciation of exactly how much fucking work and mechanics you have to deal with in this fight, because it's a lot. And if at any point you mess up and you die and everyone dies, guess what? Guess where you're going? You're going back here. You see Living Liquid again. He misses you. And like I said, it's the hardest phase of the fight. Because there's just a lot of memes that happen during Living Liquid. Someone accidentally gets a critical hit on a doll, you die. You know, whatever. Someone accidentally walked into an Embolus orb, you die. You know, whatever. Jesus. Yeah, as chat says. So even though we're frozen in time, real quick, I'm going to just skip back here for a hot sec. Even though I am frozen in time here, you can see I'm frozen in time, I do have a damage over time applied to Alex, and it's still ticking down. So ideally, as just before you're about to get frozen, give him the attacks that are going to continue to deal damage over time. So yeah, while you're frozen, while everyone is frozen in time, he can still just die to a damage over time, which is funny. Holy shit. Honestly, that took longer than I wasn't expecting it to take an hour and 37 minutes, basically, but here we are. Hi. How come I did a single fist bump instead of the usual Hroth victory? Man, he was probably tired. I don't know about you. I was tired. All in all, it took us about 2 months to do this fight. Again, kind of hard to call that indicative of how long it's going to take a normal team to do it, because a lot of us had previous experience. We were doing this 3 nights a week for most of our time, for 3 hours each time. So it took us about, as a team, we chose the number 69 hours of prog. Nice, because I wasn't keeping track of how long it took us, but I estimate it took us about 70 hours, and I just rounded down to 69 because nice. But yeah, I was pretty tired. And guess what? We're still gonna do it again. We plan on a couple of reclears, because hey, we just spent all of this time training a team to beat this fight, right? We might as well do it 1 or 2 more times and get another couple weapons out of it. But once we do it a couple more times, we'll probably take a break before deciding on what we want to do next. God, I would love to go back and see what kind of world first strategies kind of like really emerged, because I didn't watch a lot of world first. It's hard for me to watch blind prog on a fight because I don't understand what's happening, right? And I don't get as much enjoyment out of that. I prefer to understand what's happening, and it's tough for me to watch world first prog. But I would love to take the knowledge I know now and go back and like watch some key moments of people trying to figure out, like, how the fuck are we supposed to do wormhole? You know, stuff like that. I might do that sometime. Yeah, I'm tired. Just like the time I beat the Epic of Alexander Ultimate for the first time. I'm fucking tired. I'm probably gonna shut down here. Originally, I was thinking, this is not gonna take me 2 hours, which it didn't. But I was thinking, it's not going to take me 2 hours, and I normally stream for 2 hours. Maybe I'll do like some chill Final Fantasy afterwards, since I have everything set up already. But fuck that. I'm tired. My voice hurts. I'm ready to just go lie down for a bit. Yes, this is the Gunblade for beating the Epic of Alexander Ultimate. Ooh, shiny. I'm currently using a bug to make the effect active at all times. Normally it is not always active, but I have a macro that makes the effect active even when it's on your back, because I'm a filthy cheater. I actually think a lot of Alex weapons are kind of ugly. So I definitely want the gun, the machinist gun, because why not? But beyond that, I don't really know what else I'm going to buy. We're going to try to do it like 3 times total. I might buy the Dark Knight sword. I don't like Dark Knight these days, but I do think the shape of the sword is really cool. So, you know. A lot of the other weapons, I think, are just really, really, really ugly. And then we'll probably move on to Ultimate, if I had to guess, just because it's the easier of the other remaining ultimates. Ultimate Weapon is easier of the remaining ultimates, and then also several members of my static have already beaten it, so it should be pretty fast to prog, you know. Anyway, I am going to go lie down and drink some water. Thank you for putting up with my narcissistic desire to break down my accomplishment of beating a very hard, very niche fight. Hopefully some people got enjoyment out of it. Literally the first comment I got on my video upload of my clear was just someone saying, I don't get it. Which, fair. I didn't upload it for the sake of other people. I uploaded it for me, and like I didn't expect anyone to understand what was happening in it. And I'm not doing this for that person who left the comment. I just thought it was funny to have someone say, I don't get it, when I was already planning on like doing this stream for myself to go like, look at all this bullshit I had to deal with, because it's just so mentally exhausting and draining. It's an 18-minute fight that you have to do perfectly, or you just start over. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for tuning in. If I forgot anything, I'm probably going to upload this to YouTube. If you have any questions, leave a comment, like and subscribe, ask me on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. I'll see you guys around.